Yo, what's up, everybody? So, Mutation Mode has been out for a little while now, and honestly, it's my favorite mode, right? I love Mutation Mode. When Mutation Mode was like first released, that's really all I did. Like, I just played Mutation all day. Like even right now, I'm still playing Mutation every single day because it's just a lot of fun. And what's really fun for me is that every day you're presented with a new problem, with a new meta game that you need to solve. And that's really interesting. But here's the problem. There are not enough mutations. There just aren't. There's like a total of, 12. I don't know the exact number, but it seems like that's it. All right, they get reused a ton. And out of the ones that exist, they aren't even all that interesting. For example, there's the death explosion, which is really more of an annoyance than it is like an interesting gameplay element. The gold drop on death is something that's, okay, I get, everybody gets a bit more money, but it's not super interesting in my opinion. Or even like a bigger one like the tree cutter, right? Tree cutter, I think, is an interesting idea in case you don't know what that is. But anytime you walk near trees, you have you cut them down. Well, it's an interesting idea. I just don't really think it works that well. It's just really inconvenient sometimes. And, when you're trying to use a tango, and other times it doesn't have an impact. One of the main issues is also that it doesn't really work with pathing that well. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of talk about what I think would be cool mutations to add into the game. Right? Now I got chat open right here, and if chat has some cool ideas, then we'll add those into the list. But I have a list of ideas over there, and I'm going to bring them up, and we're going to go through them, and I'm going to explain them, and all of that. So yeah. Anyway, first of all, I want to kind of explain what I think is a good mutator. Like, what's a good mutation? A good mutation, in my opinion, is something that changes how the game is played. Like, that kind of adds some new problem into the mix, right? Like, that's what I said earlier. Is what's really interesting to me is when, that's what my favorite thing about the mutation mode is that every day you have a new meta game. So, for example, something like Death Explosion, I think is a terrible mutation, frankly, because it doesn't actually change anything about how you play, right? The only thing it changes is that after you kill somebody, you try to kind of run away from them. But, you do that anyway, right? Like, that doesn't really do anything. It's just not that interesting. To me, that's not a good mutation. A good mutation, in my book, one of the really interesting mutations is Friendly Fire. I love Friendly Fire. There's a lot of really weird stuff you can do with it. Like, for example, Undying, the zombies spawn on allied crepes. You can use them to, like, push towers. That's cool. That's awesome. Right? And then you kind of have a metagame around that. Or the tombstones. Or the neutral creeps in lane. These are all interesting mutations because they change how the game is played. I think the mutations also bring another really interesting factor into the mix, which is the ability to kind of play test some crazier ideas. Like, look, I get it, that as a game designer, sometimes you just have a thought and you're like, that's insane, right? Right? That's insane. That's no way that's a good... But is it though? Damn, I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure. I don't know. Is it insane? Is it a good idea? Do we want this? Do we not want this? Right? Like, sometimes it really, like, you have this, like, small little margin where you're sitting there thinking to yourself, this could either be the best thing possible for us or terrible. It could also be just super garbage and we do not want this at all. And that's where I think the mutation mode is also great, because it kind of lets you test this stuff on a really large scale and find some really interesting, like, things about it, right? Like some interesting mechanics. Sometimes even things you wouldn't think of originally, right? That weren't part of your plan originally, but you then, because you were able to test it on such a large scale, you found out later. So let me go ahead and bring up my list of mutations here. The first one is a shared gold pool, meaning all gold goes into a shared gold pool. All players can buy from it. It's not that everybody gets the same. So I want to make clear that, let's say one player earns 100 gold. That doesn't mean that every player now gets 100 gold and there's, suddenly 500 gold instead of 100. No. But instead, all players have 100 gold together. And they can buy 2 branches with that. The question is just, who buys it? I feel like this could lead to some griefing and could be a bit of a problem. But I am already thinking about, like, how do I best abuse this, right? Like, I'm sure you're too. Like, you're like, well, I mean, I guess you want to put all of your money on your carry, but do you? Like, do you? I feel like you might want to put all of your money on an alchemist or on an anti-mage or something like that, and just like have them clear out the jungle and just put them on permanent farming duty. Just have them only buy farming items, and then the rest of your team just uses that constant cash flow to get them powerful. Maybe, right? Like, maybe that's how you want to do it. And I think like there is a lot of interesting stuff you can already like plan out and think about just with this new mutation. Now, if you think this is something that might be a bit too prone to abuse, which I do definitely see that happening, I have a replacement idea, which is all items are shareable. You can share all items, like anything, and fully shareable, so they can also be used to build into stuff, right? So I could share you, let's say, a Quelling Blade, and you can use that to build into a Battle Fury. Now, how would that go down? Right, like it's kind of the same thing. It's a little less abusable, which I think is maybe better. But that would be kind of neat, wouldn't it? Right? And there's just a lot you can do there. Similarly, what if all experience was shared? Right? By that, I don't mean all experience, again, it's not like when somebody gets 100 experience, now everybody gets 100. But instead, when somebody gets 100 experience, everybody gets 20. So kind of like Heroes of the Storm. But it's something you can try out in the mutation mode. I think it might be interesting. All right. Again, I feel like the best strategy may be to just put a hero on farming duty and get all of that experience. But maybe not. The best way to get experience is actually to get kills. And now that everybody has the same amount of experience, would this be super snowballing or would this not be super snowballing? But it would be interesting, right? That's kind of the point. Here's another one, kind of, and to expand upon the idea of when a tree cutter, right? Tree cutter, I think, is not that great. Trees respawn very quickly, and it's kind of annoying. I get what the idea is, which is to let you walk through trees. Here's my idea: trees don't respawn. Isn't that great? So, at this point, I want to bring up something else that I think is important to keep in mind about mutations. I've seen a lot of people suggest mutations that are just this crazy, super complicated stuff that's going to be a lot of work to implement. I think mutations should be kept simple, and should be easy to implement because else, you can't put a ton of work into every single mutation. And something that's also important is I don't think every mutation needs to work for every hero, right? So for example, trees don't respawn would be really shitty for Timbersaw and Treant Protector, but that's fine because tomorrow there's going to be a different mutation, right? And that's why having a big mutation pool is important. You just want to have as many as possible so you can have as many combinations as possible so it doesn't repeat like it currently does a lot. Like it's currently very repetitive, which is kind of a shame, right? But here's the idea. Trees don't respawn at all. The game starts with all of the trees on the map, so tangles and such can still be used. Timbersaw could potentially still play in the early game, but when a tree is cut down, it's just gone permanently. We could call it a real life simulator. But it's just cut down permanently. And I feel like you can really see how the map would shape itself. And I feel like every single game you play with this mutation would actually play out very differently. And the cool thing about this mutation as well is that heroes would actually respect pathing, right? Because heroes do respect the pathing of trees missing. They do not respect the pathing of trees being cut down passively when you get near them. So you could actually create new paths that would just be there permanently, and you could actually use them that way. This is actually one of my favorite ideas. I think this will work out pretty well. Here's another one. Double respawn time or half respawn time. These would just be minor ones. I get double respawn time might be really annoying, but I think double respawn time would lead to a different meta game than what we are used to, because it would be very punishing to die. Dying would be so punishing. Now the question is, do you use that by being super aggressive or do you use that by being super defensive? What kind of heroes do you pick for that? Right? Do you pick super pushing heroes? Do you pick heroes that can kill? Right? Do you pick a team that can, once you kill something, you just end the game? Or do you pick a team that makes sure that you can kill something because you have forever to push, so you can just get a lot of value out of it anyway. Similarly, halving the respawn time, right? And that's just a small little number change. You just gotta add in a small little number somewhere and it's done. It's taken care of. The same thing for the tree stun respawn, right? Just add a few zeros to the duration it takes for a tree to respawn. So, that would be another one where it's just like kind of changes how the game would be played. Similarly, kills are worth twice as much gold, or kills are worth half the gold, half the experience, twice the experience, right? Everything is worth twice gold, everything is worth half the gold. These are very small, simple modifiers, very easy to make, that you can just slap into the pool, and all of a sudden you're just creating a large amount of variety, right? These are not supposed to be major ones. These are just supposed to be something you can just add in. And I just forget about them, right? It's just like, boop, there you go. Right? And then they'll show up every few weeks and sick, right? Here's one that I think is really cool. I'll always get both talents instead of just one. Now that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Now, as again, another question is like, which heroes are good? I feel like heroes that have gold per minute talents or experience per minute talents or experience percent talents would be really good, because usually those are sacrificed because you're not getting stats. But then again, you think about a Medusa, for example, you get both the level 25 talents. That would be kind of crazy, right? You can do a lot of stuff with that. Generally speaking, a lot of the level 25 talents are really scary, and getting both can be really powerful. So I think having both talents when you skill them instead of just one would be something that doesn't create a meta game out of like the surrounding things, right? Like the map factors or something like that. But it just creates a metagame out of which heroes function well in this and which heroes don't. And those heroes might be very different heroes from what you're used to in regular Dota. Full price for selling items. So you can just very freely swap your items in and out, right? You can buy something and then just sell it for full price. This would be something where really I feel like all of the sudden item builds would be drastically different, because you can't just buy 5 Aquilas and then just sell them, right? Like usually you wouldn't want to do that. You don't want to stack up on too many small items because, well, you are in a situation where if you do that, you just have too much shit that you can't really get too much value out of. But that's not going to be true with this. You can just get a bunch of Aquilas. That's fine. You'll just sell them and just do the same thing again, right? You get yourself just a quick, I don't know, what would you rush? Like get yourself a quick Dagon and like get some kills with it and then just sell it because you don't need it anymore, right? So everything sells for full price. That's something that I can really see a lot of interesting gameplay changes happening just because of that. And I think it would be interesting to see how players utilize this new environment, right? Then both teams share vision, which is a bit silly. This would be more of a smaller one again. I don't know. It would just be kind of interesting. This one might be a disaster, though. I feel like this one could also very well be just a complete disaster. Then we have no allied vision. Similar deal, but it would be kind of funny. Here are two big ones that I think I might actually be quite interesting. Creeps spawn every 15 seconds instead of every 30 seconds, or creeps spawn every minute instead of every 30 seconds. I feel like there would be quite the metagame that builds around this. By reducing the amount of creeps on the map this drastically, or increasing them this drastically, different heroes are gonna like shine and become more powerful. Right? And again, that's one of the strengths of the mutation, that you can really have these kind of drastic changes. And it's fine, because tomorrow you're not going to have it anymore. And once you have a big enough mutation pool, they're not going to repeat frequently, and it's going to be fine, right? So this is something that I honestly don't even know how exactly this would play out. Like, do farming heroes become like much more powerful, but because everybody can farm now? Does everybody just buy a Battle of Fury because there's so many creeps? Or does everybody get Mjolnir or something like that, right? Does everybody go for farming items, or does nobody go for farming items? Are heroes with massive AoE powerful, or are heroes that push really well powerful, right? I feel like there's so much testing that can be done with creep spawn every 15 seconds as opposed to every 30 seconds that I just don't even know where to begin. Do I start by picking Lycan, or do I start by picking Anti-Mage? Right? Scan reveals and has a much lower cooldown. Just saying. that might be one of those you might want to try out just to consider maybe adding into normal Dota. I mean, like, it's just a suggestion I wanted to throw in there. But yeah. On that note, I do actually think you can use this game mode to really do some testing, right? A discussion I saw on Reddit recently where people are like, oh, do we want to remove uphill mischance? And it's like, I don't know, like there's definitely a reason to have it, right? Like you want to have uphill mischance so you have an advantage for actually being uphill, but you do already have an advantage. You have vision, you have positioning, right? It's definitely an advantage anyway. But I feel like this is the place where you can just test that shit, right? Just remove uphill mischance. Go ahead, just do it, right? Just remove uphill mischance as a modifier, right? Increase it, replace it with 25% damage reduction, right? Make it apply to spells, right? Like that kind of testing. I'm not saying any of these are good ideas to have in Dota. I'm just saying you can do this testing, and I would love to do it because it's interesting, right? Everybody starts with 5,000 gold. This is actually one of the ones that I quite like, right? It's a bit crazy. No, I say 5,000 specifically because if you make it more than 5,000, people will just rush hard every single time. But with 5,000, you can't quite afford hard. You can't quite afford the really, really expensive items. I'm not even sure you would want to. But you can afford a lot of stuff. What do you buy? Does everybody just rush Necrobook? I feel like Necrobook is really the big one. But I feel like then people will start building around the Necrobook. You know, like, what's the next thing? Do you just immediately get Battle Fury? Or do you want to start with some Aquilas, right? Like, if you have 5,000 gold, do I get Battle Fury? Or do I just get, like, 3 Aquilas and make sure that I have a massive amount of stats? I feel like that's, you know, again, that one would be kind of interesting. You can change the 5,000 gold to 4,000, 3,000, 2,000. Right? Or go for 10,000. You can literally change this number, right? Make it, everybody starts with 1,000 gold, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, and 10,000. And you have 10 different modifiers that you can start people out with. You're just going to make sure they don't start at the same time, right? I just added 10 games, like 10 possible options into the list. And again, they don't all need to be hugely different because this will still create a different metagame every time you have it. Instant respawn. Yeah, I know that one is a bit silly, but it might be interesting. How about this one? Disable boots, but everybody starts with 60 additional movement speed. I don't know. This one is just kind of testing, right? Similar note, everybody starts with a Divine Rapier. That would be really silly. But who's good? Who's good? If everybody can start with a Divine Rapier, who is actually good? Chat, what do you think? Who do you think is going to be the most powerful hero in the game? I don't know. I have no idea. Right? Probably somebody like Sniper, maybe Jaroko. I don't know. Who is good? Everybody starts with a Divine Rapier. Ricky? Sniper? See people saying Kunkka, PA, TA, Ogre, Viva, Ricky, you know, Wraith King, Crystal Main. Right? You can see there are a lot of different opinions on this already, and that's what makes it interesting. Every time you die, you drop one of your items. I feel like this one will be quite annoying, but I don't know, might be interesting, might be fun. Again, I'm not saying all of these are winners. I'm just trying to give ideas. You can deny creeps at 100% HP. So you can just always deny creeps. You just, similar how you currently do it. I don't mean in a friendly fire way, where you can do it with spells, but you have to A-click on them. I don't know, right? Like, how would that change things? It might change things drastically. It might not change them at all. It would definitely have an impact. Right? But I feel like it would be interesting to see. Now, this next one I think would be cool, but I understand this one takes a lot of work, and it's probably something that is too much for the scope of mutation. But 9 inventory slots. The 3 backpack slots now become proper inventory slots. It would be cool. Don't know if it's possible, but it would be cool, right? And I feel like that would also change things up drastically. Then, of course, same hero pick. You may pick the same hero as the teammate, right? So, you know, is 5 Bristlebacks really the best option? Is maybe 5 Ursas better? Who wins, right? Who wins? Probably 5 bristleblacks. But that's the cool thing about Mutation Mode. And that's actually something I think that Valve did a really good job with. They made it so that when you suggest somebody to be banned in Mutation Mode, they automatically get banned. So I assume that 5 bristleblacks get automatically banned every single time. What's the next most powerful thing? Is it 5 Ursas? Maybe there's 5 Ursas, so 5 Ursas get banned immediately. And who's next? I don't know. And that's where it's interesting, right? I feel like that really kind of works. So it's just like, hey, cool, okay. Neat. So, yeah, again, like, there we go. People are again saying 5 Tinkers, 5 Isles, 5 Batriders, 5 Meepos. Yeah, you know, there's like a lot of options, right? But again, those kind of options and exploring those options is what makes Mutation Mode fun. Anyway, that's my list for now. I'm sure we can come up with even more. If you've got any, then please don't forget to leave them in the comments. Don't forget to leave a rating on the video and all that shit. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Actually, let me know what you think about this kind of stuff. Right, just like sitting down and talking. I just wanted to do this. I just wanted to talk about some Mutation Mode ideas that I had. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I actually gotta find it. There we go. Found the button. Goodbye.